Hey, I'm Teja Gerken with Peghead Nation, and today I'm here with two new Taylor Grand Auditorium guitars. The model I'm holding here is the 414 CE Studio. The other guitar is the 314 CE Studio. Of course, they are variations of the very familiar 314 CE and 414 CE that have been in Taylor's lineup for a long time. They're very popular guitars, but these studio models bring the price down significantly from standard versions of these models, and in my opinion they do so without really cutting back on any of the features or the sound. A little bit simpler construction. I'll get to that in just a moment. Let me play both guitars back to back before I go any further. Okay, so there you have both guitars back to back, and while they both have that Taylor typical clarity and a great definition, I think you can definitely hear the difference between the two guitars. The 414, which I'm holding here, has Indian rosewood back and sides. The 314 CE Studio has sapele back and sides, and those are the same woods that you would find on standard currently made 314s and 414s. So they're really not cutting corners on the materials that are used. As a matter of fact, these guitars use torrefied Sitka spruce top, so they've had the heat treatment. You can sort of tell by the slightly darker appearance of that. And standard 314s and 414s have regular Sitka spruce top, and so in some ways this could be considered an upgrade from the standard and more expensive versions of these guitars. I have to say that in the case of both guitars, but especially this 414, the top is really quite spectacular. There's some beautiful bear claw in this guitar. It would not surprise me to find a top like this on a Taylor that's much higher up the line. I think it's very cool. The 314 top is a little bit less figured, but still a very nice top. And also the back and sides on both of these guitars are just really nice materials. The Indian rosewood on this guitar, beautifully striped, beautiful coloring in there, and the same can be said for the sapele on the 314. I've seen a lot of sapele Taylors over the years, and I think that's a very nice set of wood on that guitar. Tonally, I think you could probably hear that the 414 with the Indian rosewood back and sides is perhaps a little richer sounding, a little more bottom end, and the sapele on the 314, it just gives it a little bit more brightness, would maybe cut through in an ensemble context a little bit more. One's not necessarily better than the other. They're kind of different flavors on the theme, on sort of the Taylor Grand Auditorium theme, but they basically do what I would expect those woods to do, with again the sapele on the 314 being a little bit brighter sounding, and the rosewood just giving a little bit more complexity and richness to the sound of this guitar. Both of these guitars feature Taylor's V-Class bracing and the general Grand Auditorium architecture that we've been very familiar with. It's Taylor's most popular body size, and while there are lots of variations on the execution of Taylor's Grand Auditoriums depending on where they fall into the line, the basic concept and architecture tends to be based on the same ideas on all these guitars. So how are these studio models different from standard Taylor 314s or 414s? I did mention that they incorporate several aspects that help Taylor reduce the cost of these a bit. For one thing, instead of traditional binding on the top and back of the guitars, these instruments have the top and the back mounted flush to the sides. There is some purfling inlaid in the top, which gives sort of the visual impression of the actually being binding, but it is the top wood that meets the sides right here. It's a little different look. I think it's quite attractive. And on the back, it sort of creates a seamless appearance between the back and the sides. This is something Taylor has not only done on the American Dream guitars, but also several other models. So a proven design, and it does simplify the construction a little bit. The instruments have a slightly different fingerboard inlay, simple dots instead of a slightly more elaborate design on the 3 and 400s that are the standard guitars. One difference on these guitars that does affect the playability is that the neck width is a little bit narrower. These are 1 and 11/16 inches at the nut, whereas a standard 314 or 414 would be 1 3/4. If you're playing fingerstyle, you may prefer the wider neck. On the other hand, if you have smaller hands or narrow fingers, you might actually prefer the narrower neck. So again, this is not so much of a better or worse kind of a thing. It really just creates another option for players. And you might want to try to play one of these and one of the standard models back to back and see which neck you prefer. I do have to say that these necks do not feel radically different from a standard neck to me. It is a slightly little bit narrower, but if I hadn't looked at the specs, I might have not even noticed the difference. So still very comfortable even for someone like me who tends to prefer a wider 1 3/4 inch nut. Both guitars have simple sort of black and white ring rosettes. There's no inlay in the peghead of these, and they come in a slightly simpler structured gig bag than the standard 3 and 400 series guitars. So those are really the most significant differences in how these guitars set themselves apart from the standard 3 and 400 series, and how Taylor is able to cut the costs a bit. I already mentioned the materials, which are essentially the same as what you would find on standard 3 and 400 series. And again, in the case of the top, I think you're actually getting an upgrade. These guitars also use standard Taylor ES2 electronics with the ES2 pickup mounted in the saddle, same enclosed Taylor tuners, and of course the same care in the setup and the playability of the guitars that you would find. So those are the new 414 CE Studio and 314 CE Studio. I think considering that you're saving several $100s on each one of these models when you're comparing it with the standard editions of these models, they are definitely worth considering. I think in the terms of the overall sound and playability and build quality of the instruments, you're really not compromising at all. It's a slightly simpler appearance and just a great Taylor Grand Auditorium in both of these cases. And whichever sort of tonal flavor you prefer, I would definitely recommend trying to play them both. Speaking of playing these guitars, I think I'll go out and do a similar thing that I was doing before, playing them back to back. And I'll do a little fingerstyle and dadgat tuning so you can get a sense of what they sound like played without a pick. I'll go out with that. Again, my name is Teja Gerken, and if you are seeing this on YouTube, consider coming over to pegheadnation.com, not just for our many gear demos, but for our 70 plus courses, not just for guitars, but many other fretted and stringed instruments, and we'd love to see you there. Again, my name is Teja Gerken. Let's play a little fingerstyle guitar on both of these instruments.